going on, people? Welcome to United View and welcome to your daily dose, your morning show, where we talk about the latest Manchester United news, man. As the World Cup's drawing to a close, the club news is starting to hot up. It's just around the corner. I think next week we play Burnley in the Carabao Cup, but we got to talk about Jadon Sancho, man. We'll be talking about that on today's show because I think it's really, really telling what's happened over there at Carrington or over there in the Manchester United squad. The quotes from Erik Ten Hag are very, very telling as well. So smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and get yourselves in the comments with what we're about to talk about, man. Do you know what? Let's deal first with the quotes, because Jadon Sancho has been left out of the squad that travelled to Spain for the friendlies. He was also left out probably for a good, I think his last appearance was like October the 22nd or something like that. So he's been left out for a while, man. But here's the quotes on what Erik Ten Hag has had to say about Jadon Sancho, and I'm going to dissect those with you guys this morning. Erik Ten Hag on Jadon Sancho: he's not fit enough to be here in Spain. First, we didn't see him in the last games for Man United, so he wasn't in the right status, in the right fitness state. So now he's on an individual program, and we want him to finish that program. He is not here. We want to bring him back as quickly as possible, but I can't give a prognosis of when that will be. I have had several talks with Jadon, and I don't know when. I don't know that he will be back next week, no. And he said sometimes there are circumstances with fitness and mood. Now he is on a physical program, and our aim is to get him back as quickly as possible. He also goes on to say that he was good during pre-season. I was there, I agree, he really was good in pre-season. But also when the league started, he played some good games like Liverpool, Leicester and Arsenal, agreed. After that, we got a drop-off of level, and what happens sometimes you don't know why or what is causing it. That is what we're going to do now, trying to research and try to get him back there. It's a combination of physical but also mental. He said most of the time the drop in form comes slowly. On the tour, he played really well. The start of the league, he played really well. After the break, his performances were lower. And also he says, first you observe that the stats back it up. In the start of the season, he had goals and assists in key moments, and his action became less and less. I'll get back to some more quotes, but let's just get into that, because this is a really, really important part of Jadon Sancho's Manchester United career and his whole career in general, man. I think the fact that Erik Ten Hag is talking about this publicly and the way that he's going about it, I think is positive. But also, I think it's quite concerning. Let me go with the positives, right? The positives are this. I look at a manager who is actually coming to the forefront and dealing with the problem at the root of the problem, right? And saying, if you're not fit enough, if your headspace is not in the right space, then, you know, whether it's Jadon Sancho, who cost the best part of, you know, 75, 77 million pounds, or whether it's a youth player in Alejandro Garnacho, and he's showing some attitude problems, you're not going to play. You're not going to play. So Ten Hag is setting standards at the football club. And Ten Hag is also, at the same time as doing that, he's supporting the player. You know, he's put him on an individual program. He's praised him at the same time as kind of criticising him. And also, he's being truthful. You know, I think the fact that Manchester United have gone so public on this, or allowed Erik Ten Hag to discuss it in public, and the fact that we haven't heard that it's personal reasons, he's just taking some time out, or like what we got just before the break, which was he's ill, which I think they realised that there's only so long you can keep saying he's got a cold for. I think the fact that he's actually telling us the direct reason of what's gone on, I think it helps. It helps eradicate other things. So it helps us, you know, maybe come away from the fact that it could be something that's not football related, you know. That's not to say that there isn't other things going on the other side of it. But from a manager point of view, of how I'm looking at it as a fan looking in from the information that we're being told, I think that's positive, because it basically shows that Ten Hag's not tolerating any drop-offs. He's not tolerating people not being in the peak fitness, in the peak mentality. He's not tolerating any drop in standards. So that's a positive, right? But when I look at it from Jadon Sancho's point of view, and we'll kind of talk about it in more depth in terms of how I think he's going to come out of this and how we can support him. But from a Jadon Sancho point of view, it is concerning. You know, this is a player who's not deemed fit enough to even be on a winter break with the youngsters in Cadiz and Betis, you know? Not even fit enough to train with the first team, where many first team members aren't there, and you're basically training with the kids, and Man United players who are either coming back from injury or haven't been selected, senior players who haven't been selected at national level, or their countries didn't make it to the World Cup. That's a big concern. You know, he's a young kid. He should be fit. He should be fighting fit. He should be ready to go. He started the season well. He showed in pre-season that he can do it. You know, he showed against Liverpool that he could do it. He showed against Arsenal that he could do it. He's really good in that game. Won us the game away at Leicester. Was it not Young Boys away? Who's the team we played? I forget the name of the team. Away in Europa League anyway, where he scored that goal, left foot, one touch, left foot. You guys will put it in the comments. Played so many games, I forgot the name of the team. It wasn't. That's going to really annoy me. It wasn't Lennon's team. It wasn't Ammonia. It was the other team. Anyway, you don't know who I mean. So he showed it. He showed it, right? And to get a drop-off like that, well, actually, it wasn't like that. He's basically saying in the quotes that the drop-off was gradual. And we could see it. You know, when I'm looking at his game, my assessment of it has been, he doesn't look active. He doesn't look aggressive. He doesn't have that leg speed. But even when he's not good on the ball and he's looking shy and he's looking nervous, has he got desire to win the ball back? Is he sprinting around? And you could see it from the stands. You could see like a gradual decline. And I agree with Erik ten Hag, because I've seen it with my own eyes, and I think you guys probably have too. I remember a game against Tottenham where we were literally carrying him. He was terrible in that game. I remember a game against Ammonia away where he got taken off at half-time with Terrell Malacia. Again, really poor. I remember him away at City. Yes, the whole team was poor, but in particular, he was very bad. I know he came on against Ammonia and helped us win in the last minute. But again, the reason why he was on the bench even in that scenario was because, you know, he wasn't playing well and was struggling to impact the game. And actually, in the press conference after that game, I spoke with Erik ten Hag, and you guys saw it. I asked him, you know, what is that what Jadon Sancho needs? Does he need players around him to unlock him? Does he need players to feed off, to link up with? And Erik ten Hag basically said, yeah, he does need this, but he also needs to show it himself. He needs to show a high level himself every day. So on that side, what's happened? What's happened with Jadon Sancho? Also, young players, big price tags. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. You hear stories of, and I'm not saying this is the case, this is me just talking about pressures on young players and pressures when players move to big clubs. You know, they have, like, sometimes family members can latch onto them. They have a lot of people that depend on them, and it gets to them, and then so forth. It gets into their game, and they don't have the right people around them. Now, I'm not suggesting that Jadon Sancho has that issue, but I've seen that with players in the past, young players that I know personally, people that have spoken to me in and around the game say these pressures exist, you know, and sometimes that can affect your game. So he's got it all to do, man. But also on the flip side, if you think about Jadon Sancho's career, this is a player that at a young age believed in his ability, went to a foreign country, moved to Germany. I don't know if he knows German fluently, but I guess, you know, he must have done pretty well to understand what was going on there. So let's say he learnt a new language, or the best part of a new language, you know, built up his reputation at a young age, went at it in Dortmund, to the point where Manchester United even wanted him, to the point of getting to a level where he's one of the highest, you know, one of the most recognised youngsters in all of Europe. Why Manchester United even tracked him for 2 years and brought him to the Premier League, where he could have stayed at Manchester City, stayed with Pep, but he backed his ability. So this is a player that showed he had minerals early in his career. This is a player who showed that he's got ability, and a player that showed that he backs his ability and can train to a high level and can perform at a high level. He was scoring goals in the Champions League. He was, you know, I remember watching a game against Barcelona where they done really well. They lost the game, but he in particular done really well at the Nou Camp, scored as well. And I remember thinking, what's a player? You know, games against Bayern Munich, playing really well, winning games for Dortmund. So he's a player who's proved he can do it. But now he has a choice point. How is he going to come out of this? You know, I think it's a good sign. I think it's something that we can get behind. I think it's something that we can support. It's a good sign that he's locked off his social media. Get away from that. Lock yourself away. And almost say to yourself, do I want to make it here at Man United? You know what I mean? Do I want to be another Dele Alli? Do I want to be, I know it's a bit of a lesser level, but someone like Ross Barkley? You know, I'm just thinking of players where they kind of dwindled out, you know. Someone like a Daniel Sturridge, although he hit the heights, you know, to be fair, it kind of just faded out. Do you want to become that player? I think Dele Alli's the perfect example, you know, of having it in your hands, young, English, proving it at a good level, Champions League, proving it week in, week out in the Prem or in the Bundesliga in Jadon Sancho's case, and then all of a sudden it just goes to pot. And I think that's where Jadon Sancho is. Do I believe he can come out of it? I do, but it's on Jadon Sancho. It's on Jadon Sancho, you know. One thing I've always said about Jadon Sancho is his playing style. I've said it quite a few times. Like, I don't think he has that bite. Like, he was fantastic at Dortmund, and it just proves sometimes it can weigh heavy on your shoulders, a Manchester United shirt, or even just a move to the Premier League with big expectancy. It is tough, man. I know there's a player in there. I know there's talent in there. But like I said, even in the moments where he was playing well for United this season, the type of goals he was scoring were link-up goals. They weren't high-intensity goals. He doesn't strike me as a player who plays at a constant high intensity. That's something that Marcus Rashford has over him. That's something Alejandro Garnacho has over him. Even if I look outside of our club and I look at players like Saka, I look at players like Son, you know, they're direct, man. You know, they run at you constantly. The best wingers in this league have intensity about them. They have a hunger. And sometimes I don't get that from Jadon, and I just worry whether the Premier League might be too much for him. That's been my concern. But I've seen glimpses, and I've seen enough in him to know that if he fights within himself, he can win his Manchester United career back. But only he can do that. You know, like Erik ten Hag has been saying, it's up to him. So he's on a training program, a reset program away from the squad, and that's the latest with Jadon Sancho, man. He's got to start showing it. He's got to start believing in himself, and I think it's very telling that he can't put a prognosis on it. We don't know when we're going to see him next. You know, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's both positive but concerning. You know, positive that Ten Hag's being brutally honest with us. Positive that if you're another player in that squad, you're looking at the way Erik ten Hag, just bringing it back to a Manchester United point of view, you're looking at the way Erik ten Hag has dealt with the Ronaldo situation. Didn't care who he was. He said, listen, this is how it's going to be. This is what it is. And then Ronaldo chose to do what he wanted to do. Harry Maguire, you know, hasn't been playing. Luke Shaw had to win his place back. Casemiro even had to wait time to play games ahead of Scott McTominay. In that moment, that was the right choice. Scott McTominay was playing well. So, you know, Erik ten Hag has set his stalls out. But at the same time, I do think it's concerning. Basically, it must have got really bad for Ten Hag to be looking at training with Mitchell van der Haag and Steve McLaren and going, nah, he's way off it. He's way off it. Send him off. Send him away. It must have got really bad, you know. So credit to Jadon Sancho for having to take this on. I really hope he can fight his way back, and I'm looking forward to the comeback, because this could be, you know, a fantastic story of in his career when he talks about it when he's older, saying that was a real tough moment for me. And also, I think this is what should have happened with Rashford. You know, just to finish off here, this, you know, when you look at what happened with Rashford last year, it was like, put him out of his misery, send him away, send him on holiday, send him away, send him for time with his family, send him on an individual training program. We watched Marcus Rashford basically crash and burn last year. You know that moment where he retaliated with the fan, those sorts of things. We watched that with our own eyes. It looked like he needed a break. This time, it looks like the club and Erik ten Hag going, listen, that's not what we're on anymore. When we see the standards slipping, we see that you're in a hole and you can't get yourself out of it, we will help you get out of it. So hopefully Jadon Sancho can do that. Let me know what you guys think, guys. Do you think Jadon Sancho can do it? Do you think he can get himself out of this tough time, this little blip in his career? Or do you think this is more to come? Do you think that he won't prove it and essentially Manchester United can move on to pastures new in the near future, maybe in the summer? I don't know. I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen, but maybe you guys think it will. Smash the like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and drop your comments in the boxes below. I am out of here. See you in another video soon. Peace.